I'm Delisa Castañeda, and I would like to bring you some knowledge, information that hopefully will become more well known, maybe. I don't know what I'm hoping, but I do like information because I like knowledge. I like gnosis, and hopefully I can help you learn too, as I learn. So let's read this article about the Council of Nine, which I've heard a lot about, and I'm sure many of you have also. I don't know if it's the same Council of Nine that's out there talking about the Cosmos Federation and, these alien beings, whatever. I don't know if it's the same Council of Nine, but I have heard of this Council of Nine that is responsible for a lot of the evil in the world, so I decided to dig in and try to find some information about it and learn. So I invite you to learn with me. I'm going to read this article. It's by the Cosmic Onion, and I kind of like this. I like the Cosmic Onion. I might just subscribe. The history of the most famous of all channeled works is the Council of Nine. All right. There's a book called The Council of Nine, the history of the most famous of all channeled works. The Council of Nine, briefing from deep space. Okay. 9 voices whisper through a radio in the dark. NASA engineers sit in a farmhouse watching Uri Geller bend spoons while a trance medium mutters about cosmic hierarchies. Star Trek is seeded with ideas from a seance. And somewhere behind it all, the shadow of mind parasites and archetypal councils haunts the human imagination. Welcome to the Council of Nine, the most famous, slippery, and parasitic of all channeled transmissions. Was it extraterrestrials, ancient Egyptian deities, the subconscious supermind of humanity, or just one more sulfur trick of the clipboard angels? The wolves know the answer isn't in the seance transcripts. The answer is in what moved through them and how the story infected our collective field. Setting the stage, seances in the Cold War. The Nine first broke surface in the 1950s and 60s, riding the same currents that carried UFO sightings, parapsychology experiments, and psychedelic breakthroughs. The world was split by nukes. The CIA was experimenting with MKUltra mind control programs, and Andrija Puharich, an army doctor turned parapsychologist, was busy summoning voices from beyond the veil. Puharich's specialty was finding trance mediums and running them like lab rats. Anybody who can connect with the spirit world, well, let's hear what they have to say, right? So, in 1952, through Dr. Vinod, an Indian channeler, he claimed to contact a group calling themselves the Nine Principles. They spoke of cosmic law, planetary destiny, and humanity's role in a larger interstellar federation. Sounds familiar. The stage was set. In the middle of Cold War paranoia, a whisper about higher councils and planetary oversight carried both seduction and danger. All right. 2. Uri Geller and the Spoon-Bending Circus. The Nine might have remained a footnote if not for a charismatic Israeli psychic named Uri Geller. Geller burst onto the scene in the early 1970s, bending spoons, stopping watches, and dazzling audiences. Behind the curtain, Puharich claimed that Geller was in direct contact with the Nine. The transmissions grew stranger. Spacecraft orbiting Jupiter, cosmic councils guiding evolution, secret missions involving Israel. This fusion of Cold War intelligence, Israeli geopolitics, and mystical channeling created a stew that parasites adored. High stakes, occult secrecy, and plausible deniability. It also pushed the Nine from fringe seance rooms into the orbit of powerful institutions. CIA officers, wealthy industrialists, and even NASA engineers sat in on sessions. A wolf note. When bureaucrats in lab coats sit quietly through spoon bending while voices proclaim cosmic councils, something deeper is at play. They weren't after truth, they were after leverage. 3. Gene Roddenberry, Star Trek, and the meme insertion. Here's where the story turns mythic. In 1974, Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry was invited to a 9 session. The transcripts show him grilling the council on cosmic order, reincarnation, and planetary destiny. Though he publicly shrugged it off, elements of the 9 bled straight into Trek's mythos. The prime directive councils of advanced beings, Earth as a probationary world, watched by higher intelligences. This is how parasite memes spread, slip into culture through art, wrapped in fiction. Roddenberry didn't need to believe, he just needed to plant the seed. By the 1980s, the idea of benevolent federations overseeing Earth had gone mainstream in sci-fi. The 9 were no longer a secret experiment. They had become archetypal background radiation. 4. The only planet of choice, from seance to scripture. In 1992, a book landed like a hammer in the New Age community, The Only Planet of Choice by Phyllis Schlemmer, with an introduction by Colin Wilson. The book presented decades of channeled material from the 9, reframed as a kind of cosmic Bible. Earth, they said, was unique, a stage for an unprecedented experiment in consciousness. Humanity was being graduated to a new density, and councils of advanced beings were here to guide the shift. Wilson's introduction gave the book intellectual legitimacy. He treated it not as gullible fantasy, but as a phenomenon worthy of serious attention. Why did so many credible researchers, scientists, writers, intelligence officers get caught in the 9's orbit? His answer: because the transmissions tapped something deep in the archetypal well, the same well drawn upon by many popular channelers today. The book was passed around like samizdat scripture in the New Age underground. It also left a sulfur trail, promises of planetary transformation that always hovered just out of reach. 5. Archetypes and mind parasites. Strip away the seance theatrics and you're left with the raw pattern. Humanity contacted by a council of 9, guiding from above, promising graduation. But wolves know to sniff for the sulfur. 9 is archetype. In myth, 9 is completion, the end of a cycle. Norse cosmology has 9 realms. Egyptian myth has the Ennead, 9 gods of Heliopolis. To channel the 9 is to call on a completion motif of a cycle-ending council. 9 is bureaucracy. What better way for mind parasites to project authority than to present themselves as a council? Clipboards in the astral, rules in the ether. It's the oldest trick in the sulfur playbook. 9 as cover story. Intelligence agencies watching seances weren't hunting gods. They were testing memetic weapons. If a council can guide New Agers into passivity while believing they're graduating, the battlefield is already won. 6. The raw material and the echo chamber. Running parallel to the 9 was another famous channeled work, The Law of One. Sound familiar? Raw material. In the 1980s, a group in Kentucky began receiving transmissions from an entity calling itself Ra, claiming to be part of the same confederation of planets. The similarities are striking. Graduation densities, cosmic councils. Was Ra an echo of the 9, a rival frequency, or the same archetypal program in a different costume? Either way, the raw material reinforced the meme. Earth is under observation, humanity is being tested, and higher councils will oversee our harvest. Wolves don't buy harvest contracts, they burn them. Number 7, why the 9 still matter. Half a century later, the 9 remain a ghost signal. You can find their fingerprints in UFO cults, disclosure movements, New Age retreats, and conspiracy lore. Why? Because they serve a dual function. 1, a hopeful frame. Earth is special. we're not alone. The pain has a purpose. And 2, control script. Obey the higher councils, wait for graduation, trust the Federation. It's a classic parasite dialectic. Sell the dream while tightening the leash. But here's the wolf eye view. The 9 were never the source. They were a reflection, a mask worn by archetypes or mind parasites to test our discernment. The true counsel sits in the still light, not in seance transcripts. 8. Wolves versus councils. So what do wolves do with all this? We study the trail, not to kneel, but to understand how stories shape fields. The 9 remind us that even channeling can be hijacked by bureaucracy. The wolf's task is to sniff the difference between illumination and theater. If you feel special because a council tells you so, you're already in their grip. If you know you're sovereign because the source lit your soul directly, no council can touch you. The Council of 9 is the most famous channeled work because it sits at the crossroads of archetype, intelligence, experiment, and spiritual hunger. But the final exam isn't graduation by them. It's remembering who lit the fire in you before they ever spoke. Addendum. The lone wolf doesn't just study councils. He tests the field. For me, even a humble but small glass of Polish 80-proof non-GMO potato juice has proven to be a quiet catalyst for touching the Akashic records, the living memory field that councils only mimic. Like tobacco before it, this simple earth brew has been demonized by the brainwashed medical mafia because they can't patent the signal. I come from a bloodline which includes moonshiners who lived back east, and this wolf could not be prouder. We've always known how to turn forbidden plants into freedom, how to slip through the fences of officialdom. I can't wait until my patch of poppies is ready next year. As Cliff said, be ready with your own medical supplies, especially for the kind of physical pain I have every single freaking day. This lone wolf knows freedom when he smells it. And here's a list of the references, which he did mention in the article. I think they would be really interesting to look at, and I think I will look those up. Maybe if we find something good, we'll do a video on them. But I'm glad that this guy, this author, whose name I don't even know, I just know that he is the Cosmic Onion. I think that he is onto something. I've seen videos about the Council of 9. I mean, that refer to this council. And it's always these alien videos, disclosure. They talk about the Federation, and they're these aliens, higher beings that are really, highly evolved, and they're helping humanity, and they're, just like he says in this article, they're helping you graduate to higher, more evolved DNA and freeing your DNA that was enslaved and all that kind of thing. So there's a lot of stuff there that I'm not into, but I have seen and heard about. And I kind of wondered where it all fit in, where these alien kind of channelings would fit in. And this helps a lot. Also, to know that these people who were originally channeling this Council of 9 didn't have our best interests at heart. They were not trying to benefit us, but rather themselves, to have some sort of complete control. And that's at least how it appears to me, and it looks like it appears that way to the author of this article. And so that's why I wanted to share that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do have thoughts about it, please share them. I would really like to know where this sits with people and what their experience is with the Council of 9. So thank you very much for joining me, and maybe you'll want to, who knows, subscribe to the Cosmic Onion. All right, have a great day. See you next time. Bye.